MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome back to the Big Small Business Show, and in studio with us we've got Judy Klipin. She's talking about burnout, something that you and I are both susceptible to. Perhaps we've had it, and we're talking about the psychological factors that either increase or decrease your probability of getting a burnout or having burnout. So, are some people more resilient than others? Is that am I stronger than you in terms of I've got a lower probability than you of getting it because of some factors, or are we all equally susceptible?
So I think that some of us are more susceptible than others. People who are very driven and who are perfectionists and who don't like to ask for help or to delegate. But I think that this idea of some people being more resilient than others needs to be examined and interrogated, because I actually think that this glorification of resilience is one of the reasons why we have such a huge prevalence of burnout, because we are taught that we need to be resilient when, we need to stand back up when we've been knocked down. And I think that that encourages us to actually ignore our physical and emotional experience and push through. So I want to talk about a rubber band, because that's often what people talk about with resilience. They liken it to a rubber band, that you stretch a rubber band and then when it stops stretching, it goes back to how it was. Great, but that's only half of the story, unfortunately. If you stretch a rubber band too far or too often, it's either going to snap or it's going to become pup. It's going to lose all its elasticity. And that's what burnout is. When we stretch ourselves too far for too long or too often without enough rest in between our periods of stress, we become burnt out. We become useless because we snap or we lose all of our strength. And so I think resilience is an amazing thing, but I think it is not something that we should use as a weapon against ourselves. I should be more resilient, or you should be more resilient. It's because in everything in moderation is fine, but anything not in moderation is not fine. And I think that we need to be quite careful about how we talk about resilience and how we think about resilience, to make sure that it isn't actually leading us to burnout.
Let's move to purpose. Okay, because once again, these are all anecdotal relations that I've picked up over the years. There's nothing that reinforces this academically. But I do see that where entrepreneurs are closer to their purpose, they're more purposeful in their day-to-day, that they have a higher tolerance for pain, a higher drive, etc., than those that aren't.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if that is dangerous in a sense that so you're running in, your revs are running in the red. The fact that you're comfortable with them in the red because you're so purpose-driven is still going to land you in trouble.
Yeah.
Whereas the person who's not purpose-driven is going at, it's on two on the meter
Yeah.
is like just plodding along. Is not in a better situation. Because they'll never get burnout.
Although they might die of boredom.
Yeah. So I'm trying to bring this conversation of purpose into here, and if it is some sort of resistance factor or it's actually dangerous.
So again, I think anything in excess is dangerous. So if we are feeling so driven and we're finding so much meaning and purpose in our work that we are forgetting to actually take stock at the end of every day and think what worked, what didn't work, how am I feeling, where are we at, what do I need, then absolutely it can be very dangerous. I think that with all things, and I think that with burnout we get it because it's not like chicken pox. We don't wake up with burnout one morning. We get it after a long period of ignoring what our body and our mind is telling us that we need. And so one of the tools, in fact, there are two tools that I suggest to clients. The first is that you find 20 minutes a day, and I know it sounds terrifying, but it's imminently doable. 20 minutes a day of not doing anything. of just sitting quietly. You can go for a walk if you have to, but not being productive, not being driven, not being purposeful, just connecting with yourself. And in those 20 minutes, you can ask yourself the 3 questions, which are, number 1, what am I feeling? Physically, emotionally, mentally, doesn't matter. Why am I feeling this way? And what do I want to do about it? So it might be I'm feeling tired because I went to bed last night. Went to bed late last night because I was watching a Netflix series or whatever. So I'm going to go to bed earlier tonight. It might be I'm feeling stressed because the customer hasn't paid my invoice. So I'm going to go and have I'm going to make a time to go and meet with them to talk about it. It can be anything, physical, emotional, doesn't matter. But when we actually give ourselves the time to stop and to think about where we are at and what we need, then we aren't revving that engine over and over again without actually going anywhere. And I think that's the problem, is that it's fine if you're revving the engine and you're moving forward, but when you're revving the engine and you're stationary, that's when you're doing damage.
You spoke about doing yoga, but there's also meditation. If you tell me to meditate, I'll get stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Me too.
Right. My wife has no issue with it, does it every day, loves it, and she's attuned to that. I've tried it. It stresses me out. I cannot calm my mind, but I can go for a walk and I can stare out of a window for 20 minutes.
Perfect.
But I don't call that meditation, but she does. So is that, there's this concept of going for a walk or not being productive, but you're still thinking.
Absolutely.
And there's the concept of the perception that meditation is about not thinking. It's just...
So, brilliant question. And I think they're 2 separate issues. I think that meditation, exactly, it's the not thinking, and it's really helpful and powerful for people who it works for. But I think what I'm saying is that I don't want you to empty your mind. I want you to create the space for you to actually listen to what your mind and your body are telling you. And so it's not about emptying, it's about actually hearing. So going for a walk is great. Sitting and looking out the window is great. Whatever, as long as the only person or thing you are listening to is yourself, and the only person or thing you are talking to is yourself, perfect. How you do that is entirely up to you. But I can guarantee that if you do that every day for a week, you are immediately going to start seeing a benefit to yourself.
20 minutes a day.
And if 20 minutes sounds too scary, start with 5 and work your way up. And also, in addition to the what am I doing? I mean, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What do I want to do about it? You can do your to-do list. You can do that in your 20 minutes. It's all about listening to yourself.
We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we have the last section with Judy, and I'm going to ask her some tough questions in that segment. Stay tuned.
MTN SME Hub, link to business success.